Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting
Monday.
and publicly embracing my work.
April the 6th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, and we have a lot going on here today. We are 2 days away from the opening of National Action Network's convention, our 35th anniversary. And as the New York Times broke this morning, we have bought a headquarters in New York, permanent headquarters. It was the Faison Theater, Firehouse, George Faison, the noted choreographer, black, had bought it as a fire station that had been built in 1909. He converted it to a theater and a showcase for the community and held it for 26 years. And as we were moving our headquarters, and I was just about to end negotiations with a major edifice that we still may get, he called me and said, you know anyone that would pay X amount of million to buy the firehouse? I'm ready to move. I don't want to give it to developers and all. And I went and saw the theater section, which seats several hundred, and the 4 floors. I said, yeah, I know somebody will buy it. And we are closing on it tomorrow morning, and we'll be announcing details showing it. But since the New York Times put it out, I'll announce it. I've called on 100,000 of our supporters to give and raise about $500 and toward our renovations. And people can go to nationalactionnetwork.net and support the House of Justice. It'll be ours. Renting is over. We own it already. And we're going to have it right and march in there probably early May. So I wanted to start with that. Then, of course, the convention, I'll give details on that. But let me tell you, it's Hot Button Monday. And we got a lot to talk about today. I think several elected officials are saying in public what needs to be said in a resounding way. And that is, this president has just about lost it. For him yesterday on Easter Sunday to talk about, I give you, and he was talking to Iran, to a time set on Tuesday, or all hell is going to come down on you. And all praise due to Allah, mocking the Muslim faith, mocking religious believers. That's not just people in Iran, all over the Islamic world and here in this country. Who does that on Easter? Who has such contempt? I want some of those that make excuses for him to call and explain to me. If someone got up and mocked the Pope as president, or mocked the evangelicals as president, or mocked the Jewish community and the rabbi as president, they would be run out of office. So have we become so Islamophobic that this man can, on a holy day that he's supposed to be a Christian, mock the praising that Muslims do to God, who they worship through the name Allah? Even if you want to give these vulgar threats, which you shouldn't. Why? What kind of wicked mentality would make you mock their religion? Even if you want to tell the regime, you better do this with the Straits of Hormuz by such a time. But then why do you have to mock people's belief in Allah? Somebody explain that to me. Hot Bun Monday, I'm taking all kind of calls, because this is, as I have never seen a president of the United States openly as biased, bigoted, and hateful and off the chain as this president. And I've studied all. So let's talk about that. That's how it's certainly going to dominate a lot of the discussion today. And he is speaking, he's doing a press conference in a few minutes, and I'm sure that we'll see more. People talk about, can he clean it up? I don't think he thinks they need to clean it up. We also see Iran has rejected a temporary ceasefire. We also see the Supreme Court paves the way for Steve Bannon's contempt case to be dismissed. The Supreme Court on on Monday, today, paved the way for the Trump administration to dismiss a criminal case against Steve Bannon over his failure to respond to congressional subpoenas. And also, Kanye West, we see, sponsors are exiting from a music festival he was to have in England, and the country's prime minister's been very critical of him since he announced the headliner. He had, and he got out there talking about Heil Hitler and all kind of stuff. So Pepsi and others, Diageo said, no, we cannot support him. And I think that's the kind of self-respect, self-appreciation we should have in the black community. People offend us. We need to shut down their shows, festivals, whatever else they're doing. You got the right to say and do what you want. And we have the right to say we're not going to support you. It's a matter of having a certain insult level. And one of the things that I think is so important is that some of us have gotten immune to being insulted. And it's amazing to me. If anybody could do anything to you, you have no self-respect. So let's open up this Hot Button Monday. Akeem Smith said Trump used the F word on Easter Resurrection Sunday. Yeah, he did, Akeem. And he didn't go to Easter service. He rode around Washington looking at monuments of himself. Mayor Rodney Jones said, remember, he made a comment about Pope Francis. He called it disgraceful, Pope Francis questioning his faith in 2016. You're right, Mayor. Mayor Rodney Jones. I said Brown. I'm looking at Mo Brown. Mo Brown is saying, afternoon, Rev, continued appreciation to you. Can we remember the sheer anger from Obama wearing a tan suit? But this guy's hate and bigotry is widely accepted. He needs to be stopped. Absolutely. And he's talking about that Barack Obama came out on a press briefing, had a tan suit. It was a national scandal. This guy has done everything imaginable. And they let it go like it's, we're normalizing insanity. I mean, it's just totally insane. James Mitchell is saying on our message board, the vulgarity that spews from Trump's trap is nauseous. He needs to put a lid on it. And we need to put a lid on it. We need to vote and put the lid on this. So a lot to talk about. He's doing a press conference on the Air Force pilot that was rescued. But I think he's blurred all of that by his antics and craziness, outright craziness that he demonstrated this weekend. And I think that that's important. Let's get ready to get a break, come back to you on It's Hot Button Monday, whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Not enough to just mumble about it. Tell the nation about it. That's why we're here every day, to give you that opportunity. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear.
clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton. We are in critical times. Healthcare premiums are going up, oil and gas going up, all kinds of things that are costing us what we are comfortable to or what we were getting by. That's why I am asking you to be at the National Action Network Convention, where we're going to have leading political figures, leading civil rights leaders, leading activists, leading faith leaders, leading youth activists convene at the National Action Network Convention, April the 8th through the 11th, where we are going to strategize, hear the plenary sessions, question, and come out with how we back up this whole retrenchment of our rights and our ability to live. It's not just about rhetoric, it's about a strategy and get results. That's why we in National Action Network have always been on the front line, and we need you with us more now than ever. To register, all of our sessions are free. All of our sessions are free. To register, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651. Don't worry about how tough they are. Worry about how tough we must become. We never had a victory without a fight. It's time to strategize and fight back.
Reverend Sharpton, good to see you here tonight. By our count at WMUR, you've only been here once in 2003.
You counted wrong.
Okay.
You must be using the Florida Republicans count.
Nevertheless, as far as your visits are concerned, you have been here far less often than your colleagues here who have gone through the paces, met with the voters, done the grassroots style of campaigning that the voters of New Hampshire are expecting and looking for. Why shouldn't those very same voters not think of you as disrespecting them by not coming here and doing the same thing?
Well, I think, first of all, I've been here several times last year and this year. I intend to be here. In fact, I was to preach here Sunday, and the snow stopped me. I intend to be here between now and the primary. And I think that's any more than any of us. There are many places that some of my colleagues have not been to often at all. I think that people go and campaign based on their resources and their availability. So I think that that is not something that they should read into any of us about any particular primary. I also want to address your first question. As a minister, I think that you can have a personal motivation of religion, but you should not try to act like your religion is something that dictates where people ought to go. I pray every day. I can assure you in my talks with God, he is not a registered member of the right wing of the Republican Party.
Today, many of those same challenges still remain that Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage and spoke about, a clear reminder that the work is far from over. For over 35 years, the commitment to justice has remained strong. The fight continues, the voice is steady, and the mission moves forward.
No justice! No justice! 62 years ago today, Martin marched in Washington. 62 years later, the dream is not dead.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It is Hot Button Monday. And as I speak, Donald Trump is continuing to harangue the press conference. He's talking about the the successful rescue of the airmen. But then he goes on with these threats. Iran could be taken out in one night, clearly trying to do whatever he can to cause chaos. And it is despicable. All right, we're taking your calls at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And, of course, you on the message board. On the message board, I see Martise Chisholm say, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. We just landed at the LaGuardia Airport. I'm looking forward to the convention and talking about our NAN Greater Memphis Southern strategy with you and Reverend Toon, our great national field director. Can't wait, Martise. I definitely want to hear your strategy and what we need to do to support you. Happiness Donut says, shout out to Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin for her impeccable negotiating skills for securing the deal for the House of Justice. She did it. She handled it. She brought it home, and we just asking people to help support it. But she did it, and we put the initial stuff down. We own it. Now let's go make it work. All right, let's go take some calls. Let me first remind you, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 every Saturday and Sunday, even over Good Friday and Easter. I had on senators and Congressman Eric Swalwell, who was the key part of the dismissing of Attorney General Pam Bondi. We had him on. We had on members of the Senate and all. I get down to the thick of it. I don't accept people say it's a holiday. Good. Turn on your Facebook. We need to talk. Trump didn't take the holiday off. We didn't take it off. Watch it every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time at 5 p.m. And then on Saturdays, Saturday Action Rally, we've been at the Mother AME's Zion Historic Church, 137th and Lenox, and we'll be there another couple of weeks while we get our new House of Justice ready, but I've let you know where it is and where it is. We are 124th Street and Morningside Drive, right off 125th Street, Harlem. You're going to see we put up the big sign in a couple of weeks. National Action Network's House of Justice, named by Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's the one, when we first started, he said we call this the House of Justice. All right, and the convention starts Wednesday through Saturday. The updated schedule is on the website, so you can come. You that have registered, you'd have not registered, you can take your own chance, but you'd have come. It's all free, all the sessions. Pick your session. And we're adding some people. That's why you can go to the updates. I know that Morning Joe is now coming, and others are coming. And it's important that John Hope Bryant is coming and doing a financial workshop. It's going to be a historic workshop. Let's start in Washington with Joe. Joe, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on Hot Button Monday.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing today, sir?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Give you a history on the Iran nuclear power. Eisenhower gave them that technology back in 1957. It's been 69 years since they had that technology. And even though Israel did bomb some of their sites, to have technology for 69 years, I think they have the bomb out. Got to. That's my opinion, okay?
Well, so then why hasn't Trump and them found it?
Because remember, they went underground.
No, I don't remember.
They went underground with their operation, sir.
Well, all right, we'll see. It would seem to me that thank you for your call, if they felt they had the bomb, then they wouldn't be calling all these wolf tickets and threats. He's certain that Trump is acting in a way that is totally irrational. Let's go to Ulysses in Milwaukee is Ulyssia, or is it Louisia? Ulyssia in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hello?
Reverend Al.
Yes.
Yes, it's Ulysses. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Look, Reverend Al, you mean to say there is nothing that these politicians can do? I mean, there is no code of ethics for Trump? I mean, you know, is this, you know, I mean, this is blatant, okay? It's over-the-top vulgarity. You know, I remember the teachers pulling TVs into the classroom for us to see important events, like the first moonshot, you know, and all that. What are these people? Are they deaf? I mean, you can't have the president speak on national TV. He's speaking to children all over the. I mean, what is? I mean, nobody's saying, "Hey, man, stop that." Nobody says to him, you know, in his press conferences or whatever, "Why are you so vulgar? Why is your mouth so dirty? We don't want to be represented that way. You're giving us a bad look." Gee, Willikins. I mean, you know, these cats, they must have something up their sleeve, Reverend Al. You know,
they definitely have something up their sleeves, and it's not their arm either.
You know, I commend you on the you're reaching out to the youth and having them at the convention.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's serious. I think we are. I spoke with a guy the other day, Reverend Al, and he was just so misguided with all this disinformation. That's what, you know, that was a big plan of theirs. They're gonna flood the zone with disinformation. You know, these young people don't know up from down. You know, you preaching to the choir. You know, most of us, you know, that call in, we know what time it is. Right. These young people, man, I don't know what we gonna do.
We're gonna have to educate them. We're gonna have to educate them. We got to stick with them because they're our future, whether we like it or not. We've got to shape and mold them like we were.
You know what I thought about, Reverend Al? Excuse me for interrupting, you know, before you cut me off. Is it, you know, what would you think about awarding some prize, like our fantastic young lady did, the poet laureate, you know, that poem that she did was just, you know, out the box.
Yeah, that would be good.
What if we had a prize for some rapper of the age, you know, to do a political thing on, you know, get out the vote. You young people, why and all that, you know, have it down that, you know, hey, you're saying something now, and award them a prize. You know,
I know that at the convention we're gonna have a series of music executives, the black music executives. I'll bring that up. I hear the music. I have to take my break. Let me take the break. We'll be right back. Thank you for your call, Ulysses. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Time is up. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive on tomorrow night and beyond. Young America, hold your head high now. We can win. You must never stop dreaming. Face reality, yes, but don't stop with the way things are. Dream of things as they ought to be. Dream. Face pain, but love, hope, faith, and dreams will help you rise above the pain. Use hope and imagination as weapons of survival and progress, but you keep on dreaming, young America. Dream of peace. Peace is rational and reasonable. War is irrational in this age and unwinnable. Dream of teachers who teach for life and not for living. Dream of doctors who are concerned more about public health than private wealth. Dream of lawyers more concerned about justice and the judgeship. Dream of preachers who are concerned more about prophecy than profiteering. Dream on the high road with sound values. You must never surrender to inequality.
National Action Network. Power in action. 35 years of justice, impact, and purpose.
Wow. This is the Saturday after I had done 90 days in federal jail for leading a protest in Vieques, Puerto Rico. And I had went down to join Latino activists that were against the Navy bombings that was exercising Navy bombings that was causing asthma and health effects among the children there. And I was on my way to Saturday rally one Saturday, and I said, if they're going down there protesting that, and there were protesters, they would go out in the Navy base in the field and lay down, and they'd arrest them for being on federal property. And if they were doing that, then I would join them, because many of the Latino leaders went to jail with us protesting Amadou Diallo. I ended up having to do 90 days in federal jail. They transferred me from the federal prison in Puerto Rico. Me and 3 others that went, they only got 40 days. They said because I'd had a long sheet that they was of many other civil rights arrests. They gave me 90 days. I had to do 50 by myself. When I got out and went to the Saturday rally, Stephanie Mills, who we'd known each other since we were kids, she was there and sang at the rally that Saturday. That's her singing Home, as soon as I get home. One, she knew I loved the song, but 2, it was appropriate because I was coming home. And we won that. They closed the Navy base in Vieques, Puerto Rico. You go there now, there's buildings and condos and a little plaque for the 4 of us. They call the Vieques 4.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks. It's about giving. It's about gratitude. It's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We got to come with Sharpton clothes. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come
to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of Keeping It Real. 2 decades of truth-telling.
I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to our live stream and go to the message board and send a message at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And I see Shannon said, Reverend Al, did you hear about the 15,000 minority-owned businesses in Texas that lost certification? No, I did not get that specific article. I know that we have 4 Texas chapters that are on their way to New York for the convention starting Wednesday, and Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who's one of the leading black officials in Texas, he's on our national board, he'll be in. So let me get the details on that. I did not hear about that. Let's go to the phone. Let me go to Disco Brian. Brian at WURD, The Word in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Brian?
Hey, peace be unto you, Sharp. And this is Jacob in Philadelphia. I don't, But peace be unto you. How you doing, Reverend Sharpton?
I'm all right. How are you? I guess they hit the wrong button. Go ahead.
I did. Well, you hit the right one because I guess I reckon I was supposed to come up. But look, first of all, I want to say happy Easter Monday to you and your worldwide audience, And congrats on Nan purchasing a property that y'all own. And,
right.
I hope to have some contributions so I can start calling it my own,
I love that. You know what I did, and if you read the article, it's on our website, and the Times got it right, that I was saying they're doing all this gentrification. I wanted to show something the other way, that we're going to fight gentrification. We're not going anywhere. So this black man who had this theater there for many years, I said, no, we'll buy it. We're going to keep it black owned, and all of us are not going to be forced out of the neighborhood. He said, I refuse to sell it to developers. He says, but if you'll find me somebody, I'll sell it to them. I said, well, I'll do it ourselves, and we did.
Well, that's all right. That's divine. Right there in New York, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey showed us what we can do when we put our little pennies and money together. We can do a lot, and I'm glad to see that that's happening. But I got a question for you, Reverend Al. To our age group, on Monday, on Easter Monday, did you wear your Easter clothes to school that day?
When I was growing up, yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
I was glad. I was glad to show off.
Yes, well, we all did that. But you know what? Sometime, Reverend Al, my family was a little poor, and some years we couldn't get new Easter clothes. But I used to make up an excuse on why I didn't wear it. I ain't want to mess it up, so I ain't wear it. Right. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. But going back to what we see, I hate to say it like this, Reverend Al, but Ray Charles can see that President Trump is dealing with some mental issues, right? And we have even commercials in the Philadelphia area that remind us, the public, to recognize and help those around us, our family, neighbors, who we see that need mental help, right? And if you look at mass shootings, right, especially the school shootings, people who knew the shooter always say, oh, yeah, they was a little weird, they needed some mental help, but nobody gave it to them. You know what I'm saying? And personally, as a Muslim, a sick person that talks bad and disrespects Islam don't affect me like that. I pray that a person like that seek and get some help. You know what I'm saying? And I say to the real American patriots, right, the ones who say they love the Constitution and know that their family members in the past gave their lives to uphold the Constitution, who love and respect freedoms, that we enjoy. What is it going to take? You know what I'm saying, Reverend Al? You see everything. I mean, does he have to really go out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and just shoot somebody?
Yeah.
And I guess they still ain't gonna change,
and
right?
The prosecutor that he appointed as U.S. Attorney in D.C. was asked about that statement that he made, the new one, Jeanine Pirro. She refused to condemn it. She ducked the question. I mean, that's how crazy this is, where a prosecutor won't even say yes if he shot somebody. I'd prosecute him. They are so, I don't even know the word, fearful, or they've drunk the Kool-Aid. I don't know what's wrong with them, but it's scary. But thank you for your call. Let me stay in Philly, WURD, and see if we got Disco Brian this time. Disco Brian.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Rev.
Yeah.
Honored to follow the wisdom of a true patriot like Brother Jacob from Philly. So, Rev, shout out to your caller Ulysses earlier, who, like most of your audience here, understands the threat that you had mentioned at the top of the show in name, which is Steve Bannon, who should still be in prison were it not for Trump becoming president again and exonerating him. And that, of course, we have to remember that his threat is, as you and Ulysses said, flooding the zone with disinformation.
Right.
On that topic, Rev, I think maybe I'm 51, so maybe I'm old-fashioned, and I don't understand the appeal of people singing songs, "Hail Hitler." I don't know. I thought we were raised on stuff like Star Wars and, in my case, Back to the Future, where Biff was the enemy. And anyway, I don't know what's happened to this country, but hopefully it hasn't. Hopefully it's all a mirage. But Rev, I'm
there was an article. I'm trying to remember because I come out of gym early. There's an article either on Politico this morning, or it might have been on Daily Beast, that raised your point. I thought about you earlier this morning, that there is an internal battle going on in the Democratic Party leadership on why they are letting this guy Piker come, or some have invited him to the Democratic conference in New Orleans end of this week. It's the same time of our convention, but ours starts a couple of days earlier. And saying, why would we bring in someone that says Heil Hitler, and ran on the whole thing. So apparently there's going to be some backlash to those that's reaching out to some. And I said I got to mention this if Brian calls today, because this is what you've been talking about. Now and I'm talking about, these are centrist Democratic leaders saying that this should not be allowed.
Rev, you're a generation a little bit, you're 20 years older than me, but I always thought, as soon as I learned what the Klan was, I always thought that if a Klansman sits at a table and everybody at that table talks to the Klansman like there's nothing wrong, then that's a Klan table. Do you agree with that, Rev?
Well, I agree that they're at least Klan friendly, unless they're sitting at the table denouncing him or challenging him. Yes, if they're
No. I'm saying if they're just saying, hey, yeah, no, you want to have some bread? Hey, man, funny. You want to?
Then they're at best a Klan friendly, which means they have some Klan empathy in them. That easily, you can conclude that. Yes.
Thank you, Rev. So just allow me to review with 4 quick examples how I see Representative Ro Khanna's engagement with certain MAGA or anti-DEI influencers and podcasters, how him doing that becomes normalization. Because, Rev, I have this upcoming NAN convention, I'm very intimidated by the respect I have for almost everybody that I know who's listed on the roster, so I'm very nervous and excited at the same time. But regarding Representative Khanna, strike one, in 2021, he went on Fox News and he bragged about his friendship with Matt Gaetz, saying that they hang out, right? Strike two, in 2023, he attended a campaign fundraiser at the house of David Sachs, which is the anti-woke, anti-DEI Bill Ackman of Silicon Valley. Strike three, on January 24th, 2025. Now, Rev, that's 4 days after Trump's inauguration. Ro Khanna sat down at Real Time with Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, okay, for a show, of course, as you know, that has become a cauldron of anti-woke, anti-DEI MAGA leaders, and Stephen A. and Bill Maher trashed Democrats the entire time, ignored the existential threat of Trump's second term, and then what did Ro Khanna do? Mostly he smiles, nods along, and concedes the ultimate premise that Democrats are the problem. And finally, Rev, strike four happened this weekend. I think yesterday on Meet the Press. Kristen Welker quoted just a few of Piker's offensive comments and asked Khanna if he regretted going on Hassan's stream. And Khanna said no regrets, and he looks forward to going on again. And then he framed criticism of his choice as some kind of Democratic purity test and said Dems should keep going on all the shows, Theo Vaughn, Rogan, and Piker. And Rev, here's my only thing, and I would love your reflection on this, because I think you've echoed it pretty well since I've been calling into this show. But my question is, like, when can someone hold Khanna or Bernie or AOC or any of these people who are going on to shows, of bigots or friends of bigots, and hold them to account when they say, well, as Ro Khanna told Kristen Welker this weekend, he said, well, look, I oppose the terrible things he says, but, I go on his show to make the case for, the causes that are good. And Rev, I've watched, I think, 4 interviews between Ro Khanna and Hassan Piker. Not in one did he ever say, hey, what you said, XYZ, was wrong, okay? And actually confront him on it. Instead, he goes on those shows to talk policy, and then Hassan Piker ends up looking like a good faith, a reporter or journalist who's just asking about policy, because of course Hassan Piker isn't going to melt down and say, suck my D to him as he does to his black viewers who had a question about why he doesn't cover the Sudan genocide. So anyway, Rev, in conclusion, what are your thoughts on this? And I mean, I don't want to.
Well, I think
it
would be.
Sorry.
It would be. I would not want to forecast my thoughts before I have him at the convention and say to him in front of our convention what I have to say. I think that clearly there's some. He needs to explain what he sees and then explain why he doesn't say certain things right while he's on, if that's the way he feels. But I don't want to tip my hand, because you got some reporters listening and they'll preempt the convention saying what I'm going to say at the convention. He'll be there, and so will I.
I know it's going to be a blast, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you so much.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We were gold. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Good to see you again, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
For that time. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when, exactly. That was, exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told him, do you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well
He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, your host, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And don't forget, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. And we had Senators, Congressman Swalwell, Secretary of State of Oregon, all on the holiday weekend. I don't take the weekend off. We were live both nights and dealt with real key issues. And I was glad to see that some of them, I told them, I know it's a holiday, I'll let you come on FaceTime, but we need to discuss these issues. I will not let you down any Saturday or Sunday. Make sure you are there watching and telling your family and friends that. Also, you that come out to the Saturday Action rallies, many from out of town that's visiting, some coming in early for our convention. Glad to have you. And as you saw this morning, we announced in the New York Times that National Action Network has bought the Faison Theater in Harlem. We are going to move in about 2-3 weeks, so we're going to be at the church the next couple of weeks on Saturday rallies, and then we're going to open up in our own building. It's 5 stories with the basement. We're going to have our offices there, our academy there, our theater there, and, of course, our rallies and meeting rooms and all, and we own it. As I think it was Happiness Donuts said that, because she read the Times article, I imagine, that our vice chairman, Jennifer Jones Austin, negotiated the deal, $5 to $7 million. We were able to get a bridge loan. That's why I'm telling people to help us pay it off, but we own it. As they're gentrifying Harlem, we're going the other way. And we're announcing that today for the first time, right there on 124th Street in Morningside, be the National Action Network House of Justice, which has been the Faison Theater. He took it 26 years ago, and it was a theater built in 1909, solid, because it was a firehouse. And I'm glad and proud of the organization. So y'all support it. Go to nationalactionnetwork.net, send something to the building fund. Also, you that are in the New York area and vicinity, come to the Saturday rally. The Saturday Action Rally this Saturday, 9 to 11, will be at the Sheraton. Sheraton Times Square, the site of the convention, because we'll be live on, our nationalactionnetwork.net, live on Impact Television. So we will be there this Saturday at the convention, and I expect everybody to be there. And we have a lot of people coming to Saturday. Mark Morial, the head of the Urban League, is going to be among those with us on Saturday morning, and we're going to have several of the candidates. I know that the senator from Arizona, who I think just got in the back and forth with Hegseth, trying to get him court-martialed for saying that people in the services, and he's former astronaut and a veteran, he said that people should not obey illegal orders and unlawful orders. He will be there, Senator Mark Kelly, and of course Governor Andy Beshear is going to be there. The governor from Kentucky, they'll be there Saturday. So all of that will be part of the Saturday Action Rally. Go to nationalactionnetwork.net and get the whole schedule from starting with Wednesday, day after tomorrow. We're moving on over to the Sheraton, and everybody from Kamala Harris to you name them will be speaking over the. It got so Morning Joe called me. Joe Scarborough said, I'm coming. I'm going to be there Friday. And Don Lemon will be part of our media panel. All free. All you have to do is register and join us. All right. I'm joined now, as we are every Monday, to kick off the week by our esteemed colleague, Democratic strategist, and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
Good to be with you, Reverend Al. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Let me ask you, President Trump has said that if the Iranians do not capitulate to his demands by tomorrow night, he is going to level the country. He's repeating it as I speak in his press conference. And he even mocked their religion. He mocked their religion with a post yesterday saying he would level them, that all hell would come down, all praise due to Allah, which is the most ugly, repulsive thing I've seen a sitting president do, to mock anyone's religion with that kind of, I guess he called it sarcasm. I call it racism and Islamophobia. How do you react to all of this behavior by this president?
Well, if a man will mock a person with a disability, there's no ceiling or floor by which they will embarrass themselves and do whatever. And it says everything about their character. Michelle Obama said it best: the presidency doesn't change who you are, it reveals who you are. And I think we're seeing time and time again who this president really is. But these open threats to strike fear, chaos, and confusion into the world ecosystem is not anything new. This is how Donald Trump partly became president, so I'm not surprised by this. But more importantly, what his words are saying is that he's willing to continue to ignore Congress and continue to be at war without permission from the Congress to do anything to make a point. And I think his point about creating fear and chaos is going to have economic implications because, of course, the markets are going to go crazy. Gas prices are going to continue to rise, and everything else that's come along with this almost $2 billion a day war brought to you by Donald Trump. And there's no sense of accountability from the legislative branch of government, but which, by way of the Constitution, is required to have checks and balances on the executive branch of the government.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that there's going to be any repudiation by members of his team, of his party, I should say?
I don't. I don't, because you pledge your allegiance to Donald Trump when you decide to work with him or support him, and that's your first and perhaps only most important allegiance. And so, of course, no one's going to push back on him. This is a man who has been on the record by those who work closely with him for not reading briefs when it comes to international matters. So it's no surprise that he would just say anything to get a response out of anyone. And I also still concretely believe, Reverend Al, that a lot of this is to continue to distract us from the issues at hand. The jobs report came out this past week, end of the week, and so I think that has a lot to do with his distraction tactic. Among the other,
the jobs number were not good. The Epstein files he's just trying to flood the zone, and but he's doing it a dangerous thing. We right up on the break. Let me take my break, and we'll come back and continue with you and our callers. Antoine Seawright joining Keeping It Real with Al Sharpton. We'll be right back. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back. Hello.
in London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Dice.
What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to us, Al, me, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said disciples. And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior say, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago. And I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsor us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
Voting rights.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
Voting rights. One more time, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
When do we want it? Now. When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
22 years ago, Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage, speaking truth to power and challenging the nation to do better. Today, many of those same issues remain, reminding us how much work is still ahead.
Reverend Sharpton, why are you in this race?
Well, let me say this. First of all, I do not think that it is fair to say that there are two Americas. There are many Americas. Our only problem in America is not just class. Many of us have problems that have succumbed to class barriers, but still have the race barriers, or the barriers of language if you're Latino, or the barriers of sexual discrimination if you are a woman or gay and lesbian. So I think it's very simplistic to just say that there's two Americas, one for the wealthy, one for the poor.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, keeping it real, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, as we look at the jobs numbers as you referred to, look at other indications of where we are in terms of the country, there's no question in my mind that Donald Trump's trying to distract from the state of the country. And when we look at what's going on in the military, while he's up there selling wolf tickets about going into Iran, Mayor Rodney Jones online is saying what Secretary of Defense Hegseth is doing by removing his high-ranking military is so when the president's elections come in 2028, they will have in place loyalists and they will try not to have an election in 2028. Stay woke. I think that there are all kinds of seeds being planted from martial law and other things to try and disrupt even having the 2026 election, midterm elections. Do you think that the Democrats ought to start messaging warnings that the may be an element, if not all the way to the White House, that would try to undermine the elections in 26 or in 28 when Trump's term is over?
Well, unfortunately, Reverend Al, I think that the more we warn, the more people are not going to, people, meaning the mainstream media, is not going to cover it because they think we're selling wolf tickets and trying to create fear about the reality that exists with Donald Trump and everything that's written in Project 2025 about reframing and reshaping the elections in this country. It doesn't mean we should not do it. Certainly we should do it to our base because our base is going to need, as you know, twice as much motivation as the Republican base to come out, particularly where we know historically there's always a drop-off in voter participation in a non-presidential election. But at the same period of time, while we message on the potential of elections being reframed and reshaped and potentially not having an election, we also have to make certain we hit Trump at his core on the issues that have impacted the people that voted for him and the people who did not vote it and those who second guess of why they should have voted for Democrats. And that's the unnecessary affordability crisis brought to you and paid for by Donald Trump and the Republican majority. I think Americans will go to the polls and outvote the voter suppression if they feel like they have a reason to cast their vote. Talking about how bad Donald Trump and Trumpism is not going to cut it for us. We've seen that movie before, and that movie has not ended well. And so we've got to make our offense our defense, and when we're on defense, turn that to our offense. And that's what I've been saying to those I work closely with in House and Senate leadership, gubernatorials, at the governor's level as well. And at the same period of time, I think Republicans are going to have to step up to the plate, Reverend Al, and tone back this rhetoric about elections in this country. Otherwise, when Donald Trump is no longer in office, we could have a problem on our hands that could exist for generations to come about elections and the fear of Americans not trusting elections in this country.
Absolutely. Let's go to Rick in Germany. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
Good day, Brother Sharpton. Good day, Brother Seawright. Two questions. One, Mark Kelly. This is the same astronaut that was married to the politician in Arizona, the woman who was shot in the head.
Yes.
Gabby Giffords.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how she's doing? Is she still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive. She's been permanently, I'll say, altered in terms of her physical moving around, but she moves around. We see her, and she's still alive. But she is the same woman, and he ran because of that and took that Senate seat and has been there ever since.
Okay. And second, oh man, I forgot what my second question was.
All right. Well,
let me just say in closing that the return to the moon should not excite young people about science. Medical science and what we eat every day in terms of the pollution of the food system is where you should be concerned. They're not going to have all of us go and live on the moon if we poison this planet with fossil fuels in the next 34 years. We're not going to Mars to live on Mars. I think we should be concerned with what's going on with vegetables, fruit, and meat there in America. I'm done, brother man.
All right, thank you for your call, Rick. Let me go to Gwendolyn in North Carolina. Gwendolyn.
Hello, Reverend Al Sharpton. This is Gwendolyn White. I'm gonna just say, we went to court on March the 23rd. The attorney for Roseville.
Wait a minute. Who is we? I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm sorry. This is the young lady that was on your podcast about 5 times talking in reference to Roseville Police Department where my mother was murdered last year. She had acid poured on her after we ran into the Ku Klux Klan in Roseville, North Carolina.
And have you all moved forward on the case?
Yes. We go back on Monday, April the 6th. On January the 12th of this year, Roseville Police Department Chief turned over an affidavit to Superior Court in Raleigh, North Carolina, that he deleted over 497 CAD reports, over 467 investigations, over 31 body cam footage, and a double attempted murder body cam footage of Officer Akadaka, where a white female who is the wife of a grand wizard in Roseville, North Carolina, ordered Officer Adaka to shoot me in the head. And then she reached for his gun. In Wake County Court, the attorney for Roseville Police Department told Judge Bedford that the chief, his name is Chief David Simmons, personally ordered the deletion after he received a contempt of court order from Judge Roser on 2/24/22. She said that the chief ordered the IT department with his organization to delete everything regarding Miss White and her daughter, period. The judge said, so y'all deleted it after you received the contempt of court for not turning over the footage. Yes. She gave the judge an affidavit. The judge said, shit, are you kidding me? Y'all deleted everything? She said, yes.
Wow. Do you have a lawyer on this?
No, I'm trying to find one. I spoke to ASCA with the NAACP legal department. I'm working with Nan, and he's an attorney with Nan and the NAACP.
Hold on a minute, because I need to get to the bottom of this. This sounds terrible. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, Sharpton, see right. Be right back.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
Ago, Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage, speaking truth to power and challenging the nation to do better. Today, many of those same issues remain, reminding us how much work is still ahead.
Reverend Sharpton, why are you in this race?
Well, let me say this. First of all, I do not think that it is fair to say that there are two Americas. There are many Americans. Our only problem in America is not just class. Many of us have problems that have succumbed to class barriers, but still have the race barriers or the barriers of language if you're Latino.
or the barriers of sexual discrimination if you are a woman or gay and lesbian. So I think it's very simplistic to just say that it's two Americas, one for the wealthy, one for the poor. Earl Graves was my campaign. Very wealthy man, but still faces discrimination. Gays and lesbians, they may make a lot of money, they still face discrimination. Latinos that have problems because of language discrimination. So I don't think that it's simple as class. I also think if we're talking about experience, I was talking with Bishop Brookins, who's here with me tonight. I don't say anyone that supports civil rights could support the Patriot Act. That was you're talking about a difference of direction, Senator Edwards. The Patriot Act. The Patriot Act that you supported is J. Edgar Hoover's dream. It's John Ashcroft's dream. We have police misconduct problems in California, Ohio, Georgia, New York, right now. And your legislation helps police get more power. So I think that we've got to really be honest if we're talking about change how and for who. That's why I'm in this race.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're gonna go buy from those
that have committed to keep DEI and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had sensational national action that were convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, the president, just finished his press conference not long ago, and he's still threatening the that if Iraq does not capitulate by tomorrow evening, he'll take down the whole country. One, we don't know this president can get on social media and change everything in an hour. But assuming this stays in place, what do you think is the... So we're getting some feedback from somebody. What do you think is the appropriate response the Democrats should have for this? Because in one level, the Democrats are not trying to look pro-Iraq, but at the Iran, but at the same time, this would put us in the midst of an all-out war.
Well, I think we Democrats should continue to lean in on process, because process was in place before Donald Trump, and process will hopefully be in place after Donald Trump. Also, Democrats should challenge Republicans in the Congress to respond appropriately, particularly those on committees that deal in and around and with these type matters, like Foreign Affairs Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House and the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, because that's where the accountability and the buck should stop. I also think that you're right. Democrats have to walk a tightrope because Iran needs some sense of accountability as it relates to nuclear capabilities. However, I think we should also remind the public that the same thing Donald Trump is suggesting or asking for was in place with the Iran nuclear agreement that Barack Obama put in place, but he was so intentional and purposeful and disgusting about trying to undo everything Barack Obama did. His number one goal was to not actually deal with the issue, but was to focus on the person who actually put the measure in place, just as he did with the Affordable Care Act, or as he is doing with the Affordable Care Act.
Bruce Turner says on the message board, Democrats need to start holding town halls now. And I think that's right. And I think that some of that's going to be at our convention this week, hearing from them at least in many cases of what they have to say on the ground.
And can I also say that part of educating folks about what this actually means, the president's words, is the economic hardships and economic fallout or the economic consequences, both of his words and his actions. Because people don't necessarily respond to words from Donald Trump because the media has forced some of us to go numb, and Trump wants us to go numb. But when you start looking at gas prices, you start looking at fresh food prices, you start looking at all the other things, the economic aspects that come as a result of this unnecessary war and Donald Trump words, that's where we have to blow our horns very loudly and spray starch that to the American people from a pure messaging standpoint. Otherwise, the average person on the street cannot properly articulate why his words mean anything or why they don't mean anything or what they actually mean. They just think, oh, it's just Donald Trump tweeting something again or posting something again or saying something again.
Let's go to, did we do James in Atlanta, Georgia?
We still got Gwendolyn. You never finish that call.
Yeah, I did. Do we have James in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, here we go.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes, Reverend Sharpton, Mr. C. Right. Mr. C. Right. Reverend Sharpton, a week before the Congress went on their recess recently, there was a delegation on American soil from Russia. They met behind closed doors with five. I can pull over. Sorry, I was trying to escape. They met behind closed doors with five Republicans. Have y'all heard any information regarding what that meeting was about?
There was a meeting of who now?
Five Russians met with five Republicans, U.S. House Republicans behind closed doors, week before they went on recess.
I'm not aware of that. Are you, Antoine?
I am not. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just not privy to it.
I'm just wondering what some obligations are, because a few days after the 2024 election, a Russian aide to Putin stated publicly that the current occupant of the Oval Office had obligations because he won with outside forces. And I'm just wondering what these obligations are. These guys on American soil meeting with...
well, I mean, I remember when Trump won the first time, he had one of Putin's top Russian diplomats in his office, in the Oval Office, and was showing him on camera, bragging about, here are some of the secret documents I got now. I'm the president. So I wouldn't doubt that there continues to be that kind of openness with Putin. He has not, I don't think that anybody that is conscious could doubt that Trump has played footsie with Putin and has telegraphed that every way he could.
I want to know what these obligations are.
Yeah,
and then secondly...
I think that's a good question, but go ahead.
And then secondly, the Defense Secretary Hegseth signed off on a new policy recently, allowing members of the military to carry their personal firearms on the military bases. Now, how wise is that? And how dangerous is this?
I think it's very dangerous, very unwise, and I think that I would expect no more or less from Hegseth, but I think it's very dangerous for a lot of reasons.
Makes no sense, then. Unless he wants some backup. If he expected some type of uprising or something, or revolt, and he wants some backup, that's what I suppose.
I mean, we can speculate all we want. The fact is that there are any number of scenarios that could occur, and we do not need to be in that position. That's my view. Let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray?
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Rev. Rev, this call is for your guests. Now, for years, every election cycle, we talk about the young voters. And I don't know if when we call young voters 18 through 35 or 18 through 40, and younger voters, they tend to maybe watch BET, VH1, mostly on apps that favor left-wing music. They tend to watch sports, mostly by blacks, basketball, football, played by younger African Americans. And so they don't listen to Fox, and yet and still they favor an 80-year-old man. And every election cycle we talk about this. So to your guests, why every election cycle the young voters tend to follow Republicans after everything I just said? They listen to rap, they listen to hip hop, and yet and still they vote Republican. Can you answer that for me?
Antoine?
Well, let me respectfully course correct a few things. Young voters don't watch BET to the degree you may think. They don't watch VH1. Young voters, like most voters, are mostly getting their information from online and digital platforms. That's why Democrats have been so intentional about trying to reach them where they are. I'm not buying into the idea or club that young voters voted for Donald Trump. I don't think we had a blast of gas when it comes to young voters in the last election, but Kamala Harris did receive the most votes in American history by a Democratic nominee in the history of this country. Secondly, I think that we put this perception around young voters and we don't focus on the not so young voters anymore. We have been successful to this point because young voters have showed up, voters of color also, but we have not been successful when some of their brothers and sisters, fathers, grandfathers, and grandmothers don't show up. And so our strategy as Democrats, we have to think about the family unit, young, not so young, cousins, young, old, and everything else. And I think we can't allow ourselves to be split criticizing young voters when the data says something to the contrary.
Thanks, Rev.
Thank you for your call. No, I think that what you're raising is very important because I think that we have to be very careful that we not fall into this overplaying that I think that is adversaries are pushing about doing this, that, and the other, get young voters till you turn older voters off, who are basically the majority right now of those voting. Maybe the census is changing in terms of who's the majority in a community. You cannot turn your older voters off. At the same time, you've got to communicate with young voters their interests where they are. And a lot of us just don't seem to understand where that is, Antoine.
Well, I think that's right, and that's why we've got to learn how to yell in the places we agree, Reb, and whisper in the places we disagree. I think young voters want the same thing as not so young voters. I think black voters want the same thing as white voters and brown voters. The difference is some people start out 2 laps behind in the race, and others do not. And so equity and equality has to be a must, not a plus, for Democrats if we want to try to win up and down the ballot. And we certainly cannot allow outside forces to divide us by age, race, gender, socioeconomic status, education level, and everything else. And that has happened in the past. And at the same period of time, we've got to be overly aggressive about messaging folks with the right messengers and not being out-messaged with misinformation, disinformation, because the misinformation, disinformation have been 2 things that have handicapped us from moving forward the last several election cycles. And make no mistake, we're going to see it heavily coming in the 2026 midterm election. In some cases and spaces, that has already started, particularly online.
Now, when we have about 7, 8 possible presidential candidates coming to the convention this week, from Bashir to Pritzker to Shapiro to Westmore to Cory Booker's coming to Kamala Harris, what do you think voters at the convention and those that'll be watching when the newscasts are all done, what are the issues you think that these candidates need to raise if, in fact, they have decided they're going to run? Think about that as we take our break. We'll be right back. Sharpton, be right back. Keeping it real.
National Action Network. Power in action. 35 years of justice, impact, and purpose.
Wow. This is the Saturday after I had done 90 days in federal jail for leading a protest in Vieques, Puerto Rico. And I had went down to join Latino activists that were against the Navy bombings that was exercising Navy bombings that was causing asthma and health effects among the children there. And I was on my way to Saturday rally one Saturday, and I said, if they're going down there protesting that, and there were protesters, they would go out in the Navy base in the field and lay down, and they'd arrest them for being on federal property. And if they were doing that,
then I would join them because many of the Latino leaders went to jail with us protesting Amadou Diallo. I ended up having to do 90 days in federal jail. They transferred me from the federal prison in Puerto Rico, me and 3 others that went. They only got 40 days. They said because I'd had a long sheet that they was of many other civil rights arrests. They gave me 90 days. I had to do 50 by myself. When I got out and went to the Saturday rally, Stephanie Mills, who we'd known each other since we were kids, she was there and sang at the rally that Saturday. That's her singing Home, as soon as I get home. One, she knew I loved the song, but 2, it was appropriate because I was coming home. And we won that. They closed the Navy base in Vieques, Puerto Rico. You go there now, there's buildings and condos and a little plaque for the 4 of us. They call the Vieques 4. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Guys! What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive. Yes, sir. There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton. We are in critical times. Healthcare premiums are going up, oil and gas going up, all kinds of things that are costing us what we are comfortable to or what we were getting by. That's why I am asking you to be at the National Action Network Convention, where we're going to have leading political figures, leading civil rights leaders, leading activists, leading faith leaders, leading youth activists convene at the National Action Network Convention, April the 8th through the 11th, where we are going to strategize, hear the plenary sessions, question, and come out with how we back up this whole retrenchment of our rights and our ability to live. It's not just about rhetoric, it's about a strategy and get results. That's why we in National Action Network have always been on the front line, and we need you with us more now than ever. To register, all of our sessions are free. All of our sessions are free. To register, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Keeping it real. I'm your host. Antoine C. Wright is our co-host. Antoine, I want you to do a little quarterbacking. If you were handling one of the potential candidates, and 7 or 8 of them have confirmed they'll be there this week at National Action Network's convention. And you know our delegates come from around the country, are basically activists, many of them church-based, many of them young activists. What in a half-hour, 40-minute fireside chat or speech would you, if you were handling each one of them, what would you tell them should be the things that they should best say to a crowd of people that are basically going to go back and organize and influencing their community, in particularly the black community?
Well, I will start by acknowledging the fact that we haven't gotten it right as Democrats, and we have work to do to right the wrongs, if you will, from a strategic standpoint and from an engagement standpoint from elections of the past. Second thing I would say to a potential client who may be considering the presidency is that I would say, tell this audience how you are directly going to make them feel comfortable and safe in an America that most Americans don't feel comfortable and safe and cannot afford to live. The third thing I would tell them, and particularly in an audience predominantly of African Americans, I would talk about the net worth and the network of the black vote and why that's important. Because the base is the space that we have to have in order to be successful in any election. I don't care how red or blue a state or district or region of the country is. The fifth thing I would say to them is I would talk about the importance of unity and how we need organizations like NAN, NAACP, Urban League, and others, but we also need brothers and sisters who may not be associated with any group. Or may not feel connected to anything, including a church, and how we need them to be engaged and involved as well. And then the last thing, Rev, I would say to potential candidate number 6 is be your authentic self. The worst thing you can do is try to convince people that you're something that you're not, or you've done something that you haven't done, or you can do something you know you can't do. Be your authentic self and let the authenticity of you, your work, and your record be the first nugget of attraction that people will see and feel when they hear from you.
Absolutely. What are the issues you think that are most concerning to the type of audience that is? Because obviously these are people politically active, politically connected. What do you, if you were running any one of their campaigns, what do you think are the top 3 things that you would say these are the 3 things that are most concerning to black or African American organizers?
Well, trust is the number one thing. You can't have a relationship with anybody or any constituency without a pure demonstration of trust. That's why Joe Biden became the nominee in spite of what people thought about his age and so forth. So I would say focus on trust and sustaining and building trust is probably the top thing, because unlike other constituencies, black folks cast their support, and their vote is a demonstration of our trust, because the system has not always worked for us in the same way it's worked for others, and that's including the Democratic Party system, if we're being transparent, the modern-day Democratic Party system. Number 2, I would say do not run away from the economic hardships that black Americans have historically faced. When America has a cough, black America has the flu. And I think we have to be honest about the impact that all these things from an economic standpoint have on the African American community. So it's the economic standpoint. And number 3, I think it's how you're going to make government work for black Americans in the same way it has worked for other constituencies in this country. I'm not talking about giving a spiel about reparations and all this stuff. No, how are you going to restore trust and a connective line between government and the people and make black people feel like they have a place and a space in government, and government can work for them in the same way it can work for others?
Now, the DNC is meeting and planning a lot for the midterm elections. I know Hakeem Jeffries, some of the congressional leaders will be at NAN's convention, and also with the DNC meeting in New Orleans. What does the DNC, in your opinion, need to do more of that they did not do maybe in the 2024 election?
Well, I think this current chairman needs to do a better job of surrounding himself with voices that people know and trust, and find ways to engage differently. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that when you're new to a job, you do more listening than you do talking. You don't make assumptions about the electorate just because the environment may be favorable to you. And the third thing is you go to where your bread is buttered first, and you go to the people who know how to spread the butter on the bread. I don't think this chairman, who I respect and have a relationship with to some degree, not a professional relationship, I don't think this chairman has done the best job of doing that and that type of engagement. And I certainly don't think he has the right voices and folks around him who understand that type of engagement from a historical standpoint. I think the biggest thing the DNC needs to be reminded of is the importance of party building and infrastructure building within the party and investing into the base of our party, which overwhelmingly is Black Americans now versus waiting till the fall or late summer, because obviously there was a sense of distrust, or there is a large sense of distrust with the Democratic brand right now. And although people don't like Republicans, they don't like Donald Trump, it doesn't mean they like Democrats.
Right.
And yes, we've had success, Reverend Al, to some degree, but a lot of that is people voting against the Republicans, not for the Democrats, and that may not be the case in the fall if we don't get our act together.
You know, I think there's nothing you said on all three of my questions that I don't agree with, because I think that we have had, in my opinion, a strategy that does not reach people where they live, and have had people on the higher echelons of the DNC that really have no credibility and no trust factor with key stakeholders. Most of the people that they send to me, and I run a real national organization on the ground. I ain't talking about just, jump up when something happens. We run a real organization on the ground and a radio show and a TV show. And I'm very selective about who I spend time with when the DNC, just because they Black. I tell Ken Martin, the new chairman, unless I'm talking to you or somebody I know, I don't have time for that, because I don't understand who they are and whether they're there to build their career or whether they're there to help our community. And to me, I think it's disrespectful and dishonorable to go around people, young and old, people your age, younger, people older, that have proven track records and have built a trust in the community and the leaders in the community that know they've been straight shooters, and to go around and you're going to create your own new young Blacks to do your own thing who don't know anybody, and more importantly, nobody knows them and trusts them. We've been through so many brickbats thrown at us. Why should we trust some invented people that we don't know who they are and what they invented for? Clearly, if we don't know them in advance, they've not been involved in the trenches. And I think that is very important. I am a firm believer in bringing on young talent and new young people. We need that. But it's young people we know. It's not young people imposed on us. Just because you young and Black does not mean you have credibility, because there are people young and Black that do have credibility and that have been involved in the trenches and have proven their trustworthiness. And I think that's a big mistake that I'm seeing that the DNC is making again. They think they can create their own people. And I'll be honest, I'll share it publicly. I told them it's like y'all have a laboratory somewhere where y'all just create Negroes, people we ain't never seen before, ain't never heard from before, and won't hear from them again. Y'all just make them. I don't know who these folks are. And we walking in mouths, they Reverend Mal, I don't know you like that. And I think that people do not understand that, yes, we want young talent, but young talent that we know, or that somebody we know knows them. My mother used to tell me when she was growing up in Dothan, Alabama, first question that when she'd bring somebody home dating her, they would say courting her, is who's your folks? If some young operatives come to me and they can't tell me who they folks are politically, that, you know, somebody like Maxine Waters or Clyburn or whoever, Yvette Clark sent you, they can meet with somebody else. Let's take a break. Be right back. Taking more of your calls. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. See right. Keeping it real. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI. We supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all no King's marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this bill. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine.
So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm gonna lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to paper for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year. In 2025, it needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused.
22 years ago, Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage, speaking truth to power and challenging the nation to do better. Today, many of those same issues remain, reminding us how much work is still ahead.
Reverend Sharpton, why are you in this race?
Well, let me say this. First of all, I do not think that it is fair to say that there are two Americas. There are many Americas. Our only problem in America is not just class. Many of us have problems that have succumbed to class barriers, but still have the race barriers, or the barriers of language if you're Latino, or the barriers of sexual discrimination if you are a woman or gay and lesbian. So I think it's very simplistic to just say that it's two Americas, one for the wealthy, one for the poor. Earl Graves supports my campaign. Very wealthy man, but still faces discrimination. Gays and lesbians, they may make a lot of money, they still face discrimination. Latinos that have problems because of language discrimination. So I don't think that it's as simple as class. I also think if we're talking about experience, I was talking with Bishop Brookins, who's here with me tonight. I don't say anyone that supports civil rights could support the Patriot Act. That was you're talking about a difference of direction scenarios. The Patriot Act. The Patriot Act that you supported is J. Edgar Hoover's dream. It's John Ashcroft's dream. We have police misconduct problems in California, Ohio, Georgia, New York, right now. And your legislation helps police get more power. So I think that we've got to really be honest if we're talking about change. Change how and for who. That's why I'm in this race.
Robin Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robin Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I was there.
You're true to this.
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Vote to phone Troy.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist. Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in. Oh, yeah. Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let me go to that activist extraordinaire in Chicago, Illinois, Pam. Sister Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hello, Reverend Sharpton. Hello, Antoine. I appreciate you both. Reverend Sharpton, you put some straightforward questions on the table. Let me just say one of my concerns, and if you would express this to Ken Martin, with the outrageous antics and rants of the adjudicated sexual abuser, he is trying to provoke Iran into some type of terrorist attack here in the United States. And the Democratic Party leadership, CBC, they're going to have to be prepared as to how they're going to respond, because you cannot continue to attack someone's religion and not expect something to occur. So I'm asking you, Reverend Sharpton, please ask the Democratic Party what is their response to that in the event that it occurs. Because it cannot be where we're just going to all jump behind and support the president. That cannot be the response. I'm sorry. So I just want to make sure. Yes.
No, I go ahead. I think that I would like Antoine to answer that. That cannot be the response.
To have these conversations. I think we've got to have these conversations ahead of time and set the tone, because the people mix up the party don't make the people. So I think you're right, Ms. Pam, and I also think that it's going to take leaders other than Reverend Al included, but also leaders outside Reverend Al, to make certain that we're talking to party leaders and those downstream who have decision-making abilities to make sure we're all on the same page.
I appreciate that. And my last question, Antoine, your expertise, in terms of getting the Democratic message out to help build that trust, we know here, at least in Chicago, the local news, they're not cutting it. Even the national news on some of these political shows, they're not cutting it. So what is going to be but you have to use those sources, so I understand that. However, I guess not the best, but what are going to be other ways that the message can get out? Because, some of the major media companies are being just overtaken by conservative, business people. And pretty much people in the administration have already bragged about, when certain people take over, we don't have to worry about dumb questions and things of that nature. So what is going to be the best way, or more than one, the best ways to get the Democratic message out and to keep it going? And particularly as it relates to anti-DEI, there should be a message there, anti-racism, how we, build trust within, the country and within the Democratic Party, but also with our allies. And I know that's a lot, Antoine, I'm putting out there, but basically the message on these issues. Thank you, and I'm listening. Thank you both. I really appreciate it so much.
Well, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that they want state-run media or state-run TV. That's why Brett Carr, the chair of the FCC, does what he does on a frequent basis, threatening to shut down stations and so forth in response to Trump's threats. Number two, this recent merger with Tegna and I forget the other company, which now will allow 60% of the news coming to households around the country to be owned by conservatives. Three, we've seen what they've done with algorithms on social media. And so a couple of things have to happen for quote-unquote Democrats or even independent thinkers or people who don't believe in state-run media. One, we have to be very message disciplined and focused when we have the opportunity to put out a message. Two, we have to use various platforms that we can control and opportunities opportunity to engage, like NAM conference and some of the gatherings that will happen all across the country. And then 3, those weekly gatherings and monthly gatherings that we hold in our, particularly in the black community, whether it's your sorority, fraternity, whether it's your Masonic Lodge, whether it's your Eastern Star group, whether it's the church, or whatever, all these constituency groups that meet on a regular basis that usually do not engage politically heavy, we've got to use those as message vehicles to carry the message. And so we've got to really be creative, because they've been intentional about trying to streamline what Americans hear and don't hear. And if it's anti-them or anti-Trump, they don't want you to hear it. And they're trying to silence and suffocate voices in the same way they're trying to silence and suffocate our votes.
And I think that there's got to be maturity on our side to amplify all the voices that are legitimate. But I also think I've got a real concern, and I've expressed this to some, that we not have them take operatives that a candidate may hire and act like they're black leaders. Because you're a black with a job and a campaign don't make you a black leader in the community.
I'm in agreement, and thank you both.
Oh, Rev, you preaching really good when you say that, because they will pick and choose who they want to identify as quote-unquote Democratic voices, and sometimes those voices don't have any sound in the rooms that really, really matter.
Exactly. And the rooms that matter, and the people in those rooms that even know who they are. And one of the things that I have said since getting in this position nationally is I told the candidates, even with sometimes the people in the room, which is why a lot of them don't bring them no more, who is that? I don't even know who that is. And it's not because I want to offend some, guy, young or old, lady, young or old. It's that I want to underscore there are young people that we know and trust that you need to be bringing in here. And I'm not going to validate somebody that may have went to school with your son or your daughter. And I think that we've got to be just that clear, because we're putting our reputation and credibility on the line with the people that are with us. Everybody's not with us. I agree with you. There's not no one leader. But those of us that have a following have to protect that following and coalesce that with others where we can. Let me. I think we gotta get ready to go to break. But let me ask you this, Pam: on the ground, what are the 2 or 3 issues that you are most hearing people are concerned about?
We just lost Pam.
We lost Pam. All right, I think. Well, let's take our break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the 2 most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn. Right. I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. Went to jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
"22 years ago, Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage, speaking truth to power and challenging the nation to do better. Today, many of those same issues remain, reminding us how much work is still ahead.
Reverend Sharpton, why are you in this race?
Well, let me say this. First of all, I do not think that it is fair to say that there are two Americas. There are many Americas. Our only problem in America is not just class. Many of us have problems that have succumbed to class barriers, but still have the race barriers, or the barriers of language if you're Latino, or the barriers of sexual discrimination if
Keeping
you are
it real,
one woman or
keeping
gay
it real.
lesbian.
I'm your host.
So I think it's very simple.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let me remind you, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live every Saturday and Sunday. We had a good weekend last weekend, and with the convention starting Wednesday to Saturday, we're going to have a real lively Saturday and Sunday this week. Don't miss it. I must say, though, people was hitting me online saying it's Easter, but I'm watching, and I thank you for supporting the show every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. The Saturday Action Rally will be at the Sheraton at the site of the convention on this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and other civil rights leaders, Mark Morial of the Urban League, and leaders of the Legal Defense Fund, others will join me. And I think Governor Blackshear of Kentucky is speaking that morning, and Senator Mike Kelly and others. But all through the schedule is on nationalactionnetwork.net. And you that want to be among the donors for the new headquarters of National Action Network that we purchased, that was story broken this morning, New York Times, you can pledge or go on and contribute by going online at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. I wanted us to have our own folks home, and long after I'm gone, that building to be standing. And as we have our offices around the country, we'll try to get all of them to let's rally and own and a stake in the ground. All right, let's go to the phones, Antoine. Let's go to Frank, my Ace Boone Coon from the west side of Chicago. He says the west side is the best side. Go ahead, Frank.
It is the best side, my brother. I don't have the time to tell you why. I think we all know why. Good afternoon, who's my favorite co-host, Antoine Seawright. Good afternoon, both of you gentlemen. Reverend Al, what the heck was that noise that came right before you finished talking? I don't know. It wasn't from my end. I just got to say that.
Oh, it must have been.
Reverend Al.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to keep. Okay. Listen, Reverend Al. Well, first of all, let me explain. Me helping my sister on her business had taken a lot of my time overnight, like a security guard like situation. So that leaves me kind of drained in the morning. So that's why I've been like kind of missing action for a little bit. I'm gonna get my body clock back together. Reverend Al, Brother Seawright, I want to lay something on y'all, everyone else that's listening, okay? And I want to know what you think about it. What we're up against, I heard the last question you asked Pam about the most main three things that most concern are. Reverend, I'm going to tell you something. That's almost like a catch-22 question. I mean, everything from voting suppression, Persian, jury mandate, the court stacking, to all the way over to health. It's hard to put just three together. We are up against so much. Reverend, what do you think about this? You know how when Hitler made his move with Germany and tried to basically take over the world, and you know, even up to the day, they weren't only just after Hitler. That's why he killed himself, is why they believe he committed suicide. But they went for the generals, all of them took his order. They went for the commanders of the concentration camps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Holocaust commander, all this stuff, and tried in World War. What we're looking at, what we're up against, we got to see outside help. I know y'all went to the UN already, but now, what do you think of this? What do y'all think of this? You know what I'm saying? How about someone gets an ex-president, like President Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and go to the United Nations and let them know with the way they got the court stacked, all up to the Supreme Court to even violate our Constitution that's giving this man the power to act like a modern-day Hitler. If we can't get him in our courts, y'all got to bring this to justice in the world court. You got to prosecute Donald Trump for the war crimes that he's committing. And not only him, you got to also go out to his Confederates, too. Okay? You got to go out to the Mike Johnsons. You got to go out to the head of the House of the Senate. I can't think his name right now, but also they went to the Supreme Court. All those governors who are taking this order, these like his generals that's taking his orders to violate the Constitution and the rights of the American people and unleash chaos, not only in America, but all over this planet. We have been put in a position, people, to be basically the little engine that could. We all remember that story with the mountain of devastation, with the mountain of corruption, with the mountain of gerrymandering, with the mountain of Persian, with the mountain of everything we're facing. We are now the little engine that could. If we can get the UN to agree in, NATO to agree in, Iran really are not afraid of Donald Trump because they know we can wait him out. And they're going to get what a reparation they ask for because the first Democratic president go up in, they're going to give them their reparations. But that's another story. But listen, we're going to need some outside help to not only bring this to justice, because we're the course of stacking, but also to set a precedent that this will never happen. America is not above reproach by the international world. You let a lunatic come into power that acts like this, we're going to go out there, we're going to get that president for the war crime, and we're going to get all of his generals and all his Confederates. The moment we're able to seize you and put a warrant out on you and bring you all to justice, just like we're doing with Nazi war criminals right to this day. Hitler was not the only one that they was going after for what Germany tried to do to the world. I think we got to get at least a message to them, or at least them send a message to those who are in corruption with Donald Trump. If you think when this is over, if you think when the world court come out, you think we're just going to go after Donald Trump, we're going to go after him and all of those who put him in power to do this, and all of those who obeyed his war criminal orders and did not bring this man to justice in America. We the little engine that could, and we're going to need some help with this. Big time.
We're going to need a lot of help with this. But I think that we don't have a choice, Antoine. But we're going to have to hit the ground and make this happen. It is not going to be easy, but I think it's mandatory.
That's right.
Antoine?
There's so many things competing for what we're going to have to do to straighten our country out, to straighten our party out. But the most important thing we're going to have to be, the two most important things is intentional and focused, and making certain that we're connecting with what the needs of and understanding of everyday people are, not what some people in a small setting, in a small group in the bubble may think we should be doing.
And thank you for your call, Frank. Good to hear from you and knowing you back around. Let me go to Fred in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fred.
Hey, how are you doing, Brother and Mr. Antoine? Hey, everything you're saying, yeah, I agree. With the Democratic Party, I think they need to have a collective message to the Democrats that how all issues are important, and we have to be a woke. Some of us are on snooze. We only wake up when it affects us, but where everybody has to be awake to all issues, from freedom of speech to ban of books, to history, transparency of the government, true peace in this country, race relationships around the world, religious freedom, and a joint message to the people should be started. It should have been done yesterday. From including you, Jasmine Crockett, Governor Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Michelle Obama, Stacey Abrams, the mayor of New York, a variety of people that have an appeal to the different, parts of the Democratic pie to let them know, hey, if it affects this person, it's going to affect you some way or another. Just like immigration, where a lot of, I got in a discussion with this brother the other day, and he can care less as far as what happens to Hispanic folks. I said, well, who's next? After they eliminate that, who's next? When it comes to jobs, and say, well, there's jobs, you can go pick oranges. You can go pick strawberry. Let's go pick cotton again. And there's a lot of factors that they have to get right. And so I hope, and like somebody said, every Democratic should be out there sending flyers on their social media and having town hall meetings and getting people, like I stated before, they should be out at churches, everything, getting people registered to vote. It's not going to affect their, nonprofit status to register people to vote. Every single election commission has training classes to show people what to look for, what they need, and get our people prepared for whatever happens in the Supreme Court, where we have our IDs, start sending off for birth certificates. Now, we got to get to work. We can't wait till it's almost time to vote. Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know if you heard me or not. Okay.
No, I was waiting to see if you were finished. Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I'm done, sir.
Do you want to respond to that, Antoine?
Look, I think engagement early and often is important, particularly with communities who've traditionally been left out and left behind. So I agree with that. In short answer.
Yeah, I think also that we cannot wait on what conventional advisors, consultants say, strategic times. I think that we have a different kind of president, and that he floods the zone every day. We've got to be out there every day pounding back. You can't run a conventional campaign against an unconventional incumbent. And I think that they're giving him too much time to get his message out there, and theirs not. Their message is not getting out there.
Very true.
All right. Thank you for your call. I think it's good that we have strategy, but it's even better when we implement the strategies. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be dealing with at the convention. We're going to hear from the presidential candidates, and we're going to hear from the scholars, Michael Eric Dyson, all them, and the big businessmen in our community, and artists. But then what is the strategy? Like, we've been able to come out with the DEI fight, with the other fights around voter stuff, some of which the jury's still out, and some of which we achieved. We're going to talk about that state by state. A lot of our state NAN leaders have been able to get breakthroughs. Well, how did they do that compared to those that couldn't? This we must take seriously. If we take ourselves seriously, the world will have no choice but to take us seriously. But the problem I think we have is a lot of us don't take what we're doing seriously. And I tell people all the time, every morning I get up, as most of I get up about 4 in the morning. I'm in the gym 5:15. And I run a national organization, 138 cities, with 7 different regional offices that we've got to fund, 73 people on my staff, and then I have Politics Nation with another 8 people on my staff, and then a radio show. So I'm busy all day, which is why I don't have no time for foolishness, even with presidential candidates, because I got other stuff to do. And I think that if we all just tell people, stay focused, I ain't got that kind of time. I don't care about your rhetoric. I don't care about what you're mad about. I want to know what it is that you want to do. Candidate, give me your first 3 points and give me your background on why I should believe you will do them. Have you done things already in office? Long and short of it, because at the end of the day, we're up against people that have mastered deception, and we've got to be able to master what it means to be straight up but also efficient. Well, I'm out of time thanking you, Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listening, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. The Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.